Hello guys. Up to now we have seen what kind of signals are there, what are different type of systems that are used to process those signals. We have seen those signals and system in both continuous and discrete time domain. But the thing is, in continuous domain or in analog signals, the memory required is infinite because there are infinite number of samples. But if you think in terms of computer systems or any other practical system, we know the memory of our system is finite. It may be 100 GB, 200 GB, 1 TB, 2 TB, but it is always finite. So we have only a finite memory to store the signal. That is why we need to convert the signal into discrete time signal or digital signal. So the process of converting a continuous signal into a discrete time signal is called as sampling. Okay. So here by sampling we want to convert a continuous time signal into a discrete time signal. So how do we do this is, here we will take xt. Okay, here we will keep a switch which will open only at particular instance that are multiples of ts. Okay, here we will get x of nts. Okay, where n is some integer and ts is basically sampling interval. Okay, so what I am doing is I will keep this switch open, but as the time is multiple of ts, let us say t is equal to 0, then t is equal to ts, t is equal to 2ts, 3ts, and so on these points I will close this switch, and as soon as I close this switch, this signal will go to the output. So the output will have only those samples which will be multiples of ts, x of nts. Now this x of nts can also be represented as x of n, which is a discrete time signal. So my new signal contains only certain samples of the original signal. It will be a discrete time signal because samples will only be present at multiples of ts. Between ts and 2ts we will have no sample. So this will be my discrete time signal. That is how we do the sampling. Now ideal sampling is done using the impulse function. So what we do is, suppose we take a continuous time signal. This will be my continuous time signal xt versus t. Now we take a impulse train. Impulse train is continuous series of impulses which are separated by ts. That is at t is equal to ts, 2ts, 3ts. We will take impulses like this. This will be ts, 2ts, and so on. Now if we multiply these two signal, what I will get is, I will get signals like this. That is, strength of the impulse would vary according to the signal value. So this will be my sampled signal. Okay, earlier impulses all had the strength equal to 1. Now the strength of the impulses varies with the amplitude of signal. So that is how we convert a continuous time signal into a discrete time signal, by multiplying the signal with a series of impulses, or we can say impulse train. So this is what happens in time domain. Now let us just take this operation into the frequency domain. Okay, so what I am saying is, here output signal is nothing but xt into delta impulse train. I am representing like this, delta ts of t. That means impulses separated by a time ts in time. Okay, now let me assume that the signal has a something spectrum like this. The original signal has some spectrum which is like this. Okay, let us assume this is a, this is minus omega m, this is omega m. That is the maximum frequency and negative of maximum frequency. Now yn can be written like this. Yn would be xt into this impulse train can be represented as n is equal to minus infinity up to infinity delta t minus nts. Now this is in time domain. If we go into frequency domain, the Fourier transform y omega would be 1 by 2 pi, then convolution of x omega and delta omega. That is the Fourier transform of this impulse train. So for finding the Fourier transform of this impulse train, this is a periodic signal basically. We will first express it as Fourier series and then we will find the Fourier transform. So that we refer to the chapter on Fourier transform. There I solved this problem where I wanted to find out the Fourier transform of a periodic signal. So this comes out to be 1 by 2 pi x omega convolved with omega s summation n is equal to minus infinity to infinity delta omega minus n omega s. That is, the impulse train would be converted to impulses in frequency domain also. Okay. Now we can take this omega into this summation because this summation is a function of n. So x omega can be taken inside. So what will happen is it will be omega s upon 2 pi into it will be sigma n is equal to minus infinity up to infinity x omega convolved with delta omega minus n omega s. Okay, this will be omega s by 2 pi sigma n is equal to minus infinity up to infinity x of omega minus n omega s. Okay, so now this I have directly written using convolution property of the impulse function. By convolving any signal with impulse function, we get the shifted version of that function. If we convolve any signal with an impulse function, we will get the shifted version of that signal. So that is how I have written here. And this omega s by 2 pi would become 1 by ts. Okay. So that means we will get multiple copies of the spectrum at frequencies omega s, 2 omega s, 3 omega s. But the amplitude would be 1 by ts. That is, if the original amplitude was a, now amplitude would be a by ts. Okay. So you need to remember this property because most of the time students do remember what is sampling. They do remember the frequency domain concepts. But what they do forget is what the amplitude will also be scaled by a factor 1 by ts. Okay. So that is you need to remember. Now let us plot this spectrum x of omega minus n omega s. So this would be something like this. If n is 0, we are plotting x of omega minus n omega s. Suppose n is 0, it would become x omega, same, omega m minus omega m. Now if n is 0, it would become x of omega minus omega s. That is, shift this signal right by an amount x omega s. Suppose omega s is here, so it would be something like this. This would become omega s plus omega m, omega s minus omega m. N is minus 1, omega plus omega s. So it will be minus omega s. This would be like this. Okay. So this way multiple copies would exist on both the sides of the x-axis. So now the spectrum has become periodic. One more thing if you remember is, I told you always there is a duality between discreteness and periodicity. Now earlier my original signal was aperiodic, so its Fourier transform was also continuous. But now, earlier my signal was continuous, so the Fourier transform was aperiodic. Now I have discretized my signal by sampling the signal, so its Fourier transform has become periodic. That is why there is duality between discreteness in one domain and periodicity in the other domain. So now if you see here, omega s minus omega m is greater than omega m. Omega m is here, omega s minus omega m is on the right. That is omega s is greater than 2 omega m. Okay. So this graph will exist if omega s is greater than 2 omega m. Okay. So here this space between these two copies is getting wasted. It is also called as guard band. Okay, guard band, how much width it has? It has width of omega s minus 2 omega m. This is guard band. This is the band between two frequency component, which is one is the high frequency component at omega s, one is the low frequency component centered at origin or centered at omega is equal to 0. Okay, so this is the band that prevents mixing of these two signals, okay, or mixing of these two spectrum, so that these two spectrum do not overlap. Okay, so if you want to avoid overlapping, you need to have omega s should be greater than 2 omega m. Now suppose if omega s was equal to 2 omega m, it implies omega s minus omega m would be equal to omega m. So how would the spectrum look like? This was for n is equal to 0. This would be for n is equal to 1. N is equal to minus 1. Okay, they will be touching each other. This peak would be a by ts. I told you it will be scaled by ts. So this is my ideal sampling when omega s is equal to 2 omega m. Okay, this is my ideal sampling. Here we are not wasting any bandwidth or we are not wasting any frequency. Okay, no frequency wastage or no guard band. Now suppose if we make omega s is less than 2 omega m. If I do something like this, it means omega s minus omega m is less than omega m, which means this starting is getting shifted here, and due to which these two will overlap. Okay, they will have some overlapping if you are shifting this point to the left of omega m. So let us see what happens when they overlap. This is my omega m minus omega m. Now next signal would start from left of this. Okay, this would be my omega s minus omega m, omega s plus omega m. Similarly here it will be like this. So now if you see, there is overlapping. In this region there is overlapping, due to which spectrum is distorted. This overlapping is called as aliasing. Okay, so here there is aliasing present if omega s is less than 2 omega m, due to which my spectrum is distorted. Now what happens if the spectrum is distorted? We will never be able to recover the original signal from its samples. So see, the basic role of sampling is we want to convert an analog signal to a discrete signal so that we can easily store it, we can transport it, but finally when we want to use it, we will want to reconstruct the analog signal from its discrete counterpart so that we can use it. Okay, so sampling has an opposite process which is called as reconstruction. We always want to reconstruct the original signal from its sample. So if omega s is less than 2 omega m, spectrum is distorted. Now if my spectrum is distorted, that means signal is distorted in time domain. If a signal is distorted in frequency domain, it will be distorted in time domain. So distortion, which leads to no recovery of original signal. Now the spectrum has changed. Now since the spectrum is changed, we will not be able to recover our original signal, because different spectrum would correspond to a different signal. Okay, so since we will be having a different spectrum, we will be having a different signal altogether. So what I would get is not the original signal that I want to get. Okay, next thing comes is Nyquist rate. Nyquist rate is basically ideal frequency rate at which a signal should be sampled. For ideal sampling, the sampling frequency is called as Nyquist rate. We saw ideal sampling is when omega s is equal to 2 omega m, or we can say fs is equal to 2 fm. Just I have divided both sides by 2 pi. So this would be my Nyquist rate. Okay, this is my sampling frequency, which is equal to 1 by Ts. This is the maximum frequency component in signal. Okay, that means what is the maximum value of frequency that exists in the signal. So one thing that you must always remember is the signal should be band limited. Band limited means that it must have an upper bound on the frequency. Its frequency component should not go up to infinity. It should have a particular frequency component beyond which it does not possess any frequency components. Okay, that means it should be band limited, then only it can be sampled. Otherwise, if maximum frequency in the signal is infinite, sampling frequency requirement would also be infinite, and that is not possible. We cannot generate infinite frequency, so signal should always be band limited. Next term is called as Nyquist interval. It is basically time required to sample a signal without distortion. Time required to sample a signal without any distortion. Okay, like fs is called as Nyquist rate, so ts would be called as Nyquist interval. 1 by ts is equal to fs, or ts is equal to 1 by fs. This is called as Nyquist interval. Okay, so now we know that fs should be greater than or equal to 2 fm for sampling. That means ts would be less than or equal to tm by 2. Okay, so this is my minimum sampling rate. Minimum rate of sampling should be 2 fm. Okay, because 2 fm is ideal sampling. If we take more sampling frequency, then also the signals will not overlap, so we can safely take fs is greater than 2 fm. Okay, you can take a higher frequency but not a lower, because at lower frequencies the spectrum will overlap and the spectrum will be distorted, leading to no reconstruction of the signal. So it is the minimum sampling rate and it is the maximum sampling interval. Minimum frequency leads to maximum time, so it is the maximum sampling interval. Next term is guard band. It is basically frequency separation between lower and higher frequency components so that they do not get mixed. So it is basically frequency separation between low and high frequency components to prevent overlapping. Okay, so that those frequency components do not overlap. That is why we provide a guard band, and the width of guard band was omega s minus 2 omega m. Okay, you can think in terms of radio stations also. Between any two radio stations there will always be a frequency gap, because we do not want their signals to get mixed. Okay, there will be a finite frequency gap. You may not have heard the like a station is operating at 98.3 megahertz, that is Radio Mirchi, and other is operating at 98.2 megahertz. That much closeness is impossible, so we have to provide some gap between the two signals or between two channels. That will be called as guard band. Okay, so always there is frequency separation between lower and higher frequency signal, which prevents them from mixing with each other or overlapping. Okay. Next is aliasing. Aliasing is basically overlapping between high frequency component and low frequency component. So this happens when omega s is less than 2 omega m. High frequency components overlap with low frequency component. High frequency overlap with low frequency. That is what is called as aliasing. Now why it is called as aliasing? Aliasing basically means taking someone's identity. So here higher frequency component take the identity of lower frequency component. Okay, they take identity of lower frequency component. So that is why they are aliased with the lower frequency component. That is, you won't be able to differentiate which is a low frequency component or a high frequency component. They have aliased with the low frequency components. Okay, they have overlapped. So it is different. It is not possible to differentiate between the two. Next is, how can we reconstruct the signal from its samples? So what does a spectrum look like? Sampled spectrum looks something like this. Okay, here omega s is greater than 2 omega m, and my original signal or original spectrum was something like this. Okay, now to recover this spectrum from this sampled spectrum, what you can do is you can take a filter like this. Okay, take some filter like this. Let us say the signal frequency of this filter is omega c minus omega c. Cutoff frequency is omega c. So take a filter which has omega c greater than omega m. Okay, then this will only pass this signal, and this is my original spectrum, so it corresponds to original signal xt. Is it fine? That is why separation between lower and higher frequency components is very important, because we need to apply a low pass filter, and low pass filter can only be applied between in the frequency gap between low and high frequency component. That is, it will be applied between these 2 points. The cutoff frequency would be between these 2 points. And also, always the cutoff frequency is not sharp. Filter characteristics are something like this. It will not be sharp. That is why if you have gap between these two, then only you can take a filter. Otherwise, if omega s were equal to 2 omega m, then what would happen? Filter cutoff frequency should have been equal to omega s is equal to omega m. But we know the cutoff frequency of a filter is never sharp. Okay, it cannot have sharp cutoff. That is practically not realizable. So we have to keep some separation between lower and higher frequency components, so that while taking the low pass filter, higher frequency component do not enter the spectrum. They are filtered out. That we need to take care. Okay, so that is why we have to take omega s is greater than 2 omega m. Ideal sampling is not done, because otherwise low pass filter would not be able to apply. Let us see one problem based on sampling. Here we have been given a continuous time signal. First of all, we have been asked the maximum frequency component. So frequency of this signal is 250 pi upon 2 pi. That is 125 hertz. Now this signal has only one frequency, so this would be my maximum frequency, 125 hertz. Okay, this would be my only sampling maximum frequency, because it has only a single frequency. Okay, because spectrum of cos is like this: two impulses at 125 and minus 125. So don't think that minimum would be minus 125. When we are taking minimum, we are not considering the sign. So take the positive frequency, which is the maximum frequency, that is 125. Now Fs should be greater than or equal to 2 FM. That means Fs would be greater than or equal to 250 Hertz. For Fs is equal to 250 Hertz, sampling time would be 1 by 250. That is 4 millisecond. Okay, this would be my TS. Now we need to find the discrete signal obtained at ideal sampling rate. Okay, for calculating xn, we have to take x of nts, that is t must be replaced by nts. TS would be 4 millisecond. Okay, so my signal would be xn is equal to 2 cos 250 pi into n into 4 10 raised power minus 3. It would be 2 cos pi n. So this would be my discrete time signal xn. That is how we find the discrete time signal from a continuous time signal, by replacing t by n into ts. Ts is the sampling interval. Okay. So what have we learnt in this chapter or in this lecture is, first we saw what is sampling process. It is a process by which we convert continuous time signal into discrete time signal. Then we saw what is ideal sampling. For ideal sampling we use impulse train, and we saw its spectrum also. It is the spectrum of original signal repeated regularly after omega s. Then we saw aliasing, and we saw aliasing is when omega s is less than 2 omega m. We saw what is Nyquist rate and Nyquist interval. So these are some of the limited concepts from which question can be asked in GATE examination based on this topic. So in the next lecture we will see some problems that are based on this topic, how such problems can be tackled in GATE examination, what kind of problems have already appeared in GATE examination from this chapter. Till then, try to grasp this concept of aliasing and how different spectrum would overlap if omega s is less than 2 omega m. Hello guys, in the last lecture we covered concepts about sampling. We saw that sampling is used to convert continuous time signals into discrete time signals. We saw how does a sample of a discrete time signal or a sampled signal looks like. It is basically periodic and it is repeated at the sampling frequency. And we studied the concepts about Nyquist interval and the Nyquist rate. So in this lecture we will see some problems that have appeared in GATE examination from this topic, so as to know how the questions can be framed from this chapter. So let us start with our first problem. A 1 kHz signal is flat topped sampled at 1800 samples per second. So this is my sampling frequency, this is my signal frequency, and then samples are passed through an ideal low pass filter with cutoff frequency 1100 Hz. We need to know the samples at the output of filter. So now here maximum frequency of the signal is 1 kHz. Sampling frequency is 1.8 kHz, that is 1800 samples per second. Now I know that when I sample the signal, so output frequencies that come is, one is the original frequency, then fs plus minus fm, that will be 1.8 plus 1 is equal to 2.8 kHz, and 1.8 minus 1, that is 0.8 kHz. Similarly, next would be 2fs plus minus fm, that is 3.6 plus minus 1, it is 2.6 and 4.6 kHz. Now since I am passing them through a low pass filter of a cutoff frequency 1.1 kHz, so no frequency component which lies above 1.1 kHz will be passed at the output. So we need to know what all frequency components lie below 1.1 kHz. So this 1 kHz is below 1.1 kHz and this 0.8 is below 1.1 kilohertz. Other than that, all signals are above 1.1 kilohertz. So output would have 800 hertz or 0.8 kilohertz and 1000 hertz at the output. So these two frequencies will be present at the output of the filter. Okay, so answer would be C. Is it fine? So this is how we identify the frequency of the sampled signal. It is basically omega m, n omega s plus minus omega m. It will be n omega s plus minus omega m. Okay, so keep changing the value of n from 0 up to any point that you like, and then find how many signal frequencies will be passed at the output of the filter. That is, all the frequencies which are less than the filter frequency or filter cutoff frequency will be passed at the output. In the next problem, we have been given a sampled signal yt, which is something like this. Okay, and we know xt is this. So let us first find out signal frequency of xt. Fm would be 8 pi into 10 raised power 3 by 2 pi. It is 4 kilohertz. This is my signal frequency. Now yt is sampled version of this signal. So the frequencies, first let us find out sampling frequency. Ts is given to us 100 microsecond. Okay, so that means fs would be 1 upon 100 microseconds, that is 10 kilohertz. So output frequencies would be, 1 is the original 4, then 10 plus minus 4, 20 plus minus 4. Now filter cutoff is 5 hertz. Fs is 5 kilohertz. So the frequencies which are less than 5 kilohertz are only 4 kilohertz, because this would result in 6 and 14, 16 and 24. So only 4 kilohertz is less than 5 kilohertz. So this will be passed at the output. Okay. So now let us try to find what would be the output. Yt would basically be 1 by Ts into 5 into 10 raised power minus 6 into cos 8 pi into 10 raised power 3 t. Okay, because here this 1 by Ts comes when we sample the signal due to the Fourier transform of the sampling function. Okay, that I told you that amplitude is always scaled by a factor of 1 by Ts. Is it fine? So Ts is 100 microsecond, 10 raised power minus 4, 5 into 10 raised power minus 6, and this is because I know that 4 kilohertz frequency is being passed. So 8000 pi t. So this will be 0.5 cos 8000 pi t. Okay, I know the frequency would be 4 kilohertz or 8000 pi radian per second. Okay, so what you need to remember here is, after reconstruction of the signal, the amplitude that would come will be multiplied by 1 by Ts. That you always need to remember, that 1 by Ts factor you need to take care of. Okay, otherwise if you may directly write, then the answer would be incorrect. Next is we have been given two signals. We need to find the sampling frequency of such signals. Now I know the transform or the spectrum of sinc square would be triangle. So its spectrum would be something like this. It will exist from minus 400 up to 400 hertz. Okay. Now this next signal is sinc cube t, and I do not know the spectrum of sinc cube. So what I can write it like this: sinc square 100t multiplied by sinc of 100t. So spectrum of sinc square 100t would be like this, minus 100 up to 100. Sinc of 100t would have a spectrum of a rectangular function which extends from minus 50 up to 50. Now since these are multiplication in time domain, it will be convolution in frequency domain. And while we do convolution, we add upper limits as well as lower limits. So the upper limit would be, or maximum frequency here would be 100 plus 50, that is 150 hertz. Okay, After convolution, the maximum frequency would be 150 Hertz. Here the maximum frequency is 400 Hertz. Now these two signals are in convolution. Okay, that means these two frequencies will be multiplied, or these two signal will be multiplied. Now one signal has cut off at 400, other signal has cut off at 150. That is, after 150 it will be 0. So which one you would take after multiplication? After multiplication we would take only 150 Hertz. So let me show you an example what I am trying to say here. The thing is, suppose there is one signal minus 400 up to 400, other is from minus 150 up to 150. So after 150 it is 0. So if you multiply these two signals, so up to 150 product will be there, but after 150 one signal goes to 0, so product will also go to 0. So we have to take only 150 Hertz. So maximum frequency component in the output would be 150 Hertz. That means sampling frequency would be 300 Hertz. Okay, because after 150 Hertz the product would go to 0. If the product goes to 0, maximum frequency is 150 Hertz, sampling would be 300 Hertz, that is twice the maximum frequency. Okay, in the next problem we have been given a product of two sinc functions. So spectrum of this signal would be a rectangular function extending from minus 250 Hertz up to 250 Hertz. Spectrum of this signal would be also a rectangular function extending from minus 350 Hertz to 350 Hertz. Now these are multiplication in time domain, so convolution in frequency domain. In convolution we add upper and lower limits. So upper limit would be 250 plus 350, that is 600 Hertz. So sampling frequency is basically twice the maximum frequency. It will be 1.2 kilohertz. Okay, so remember, while taking convolution of any two signals in time domain or frequency domain, their upper limits would be added. Okay, so here in case of sampling, if you observe, the Fourier transform of rectangular and triangular function is coming very handy. Okay, sinc function, sampling function, triangular, rectangular is very useful in case of sampling. Many questions are asked from that concept, so do keep to try to remember that transform. Now in the next signal, next question, message signal MT is multiplied by a sampling function GT. So first let us plot this GT. Here GT is an impulse train with separation of, let us say, T naught is equal to 0.05 millisecond, but it has alternating negative and positive pulses. Okay, like this. It has alternate positive and negative pulses, but separation between any two pulses is T naught. Now the total time period of this function would be Ts is equal to 2 T naught, which is equal to 0.1 millisecond. That means sampling frequency is equal to 1 by Ts is equal to 10 kilohertz. Is it fine? This should be my sampling frequency. The time period of this signal is 0.1 millisecond, or the frequency is 10 kilohertz. Now if we write down the Fourier series, so first you need to observe that this is a half wave symmetric signal. Half wave symmetric means x of t plus t by 2 is equal to minus xt. Why I want to write Fourier series is because I know when I want to find Fourier transform of a periodic signal, first I must express it as a Fourier series. So I want to find the Fourier series. For finding the Fourier series, first we see that this is a half wave symmetric signal, that impulses are alternatingly positive and negative. Since it is a half wave symmetric signal, it will only have odd harmonics. So its Fourier series would be something like only odd harmonics Cn e raised power j n omega s t. Okay, this would be its Fourier series, and its Fourier transform g omega would be n is equal to odd 2 pi Cn delta omega minus n omega s, and output signal y omega would be m omega convolution with g omega, that is sigma n is equal to odd, it will be 1 by Ts Cn m omega minus n omega s. That is, spectrum of m signal or the message signal will be repeated at n omega s, where n is odd. Okay, so we can take the values of n as 1, 3, 5. So fs we saw is 10 kilohertz and message signal has a frequency 0.5 kilohertz. So output frequencies would be, one frequency would be corresponding to n is equal to 1, the first one, because n is odd here. So n can be 1, 3, 5, 7. So corresponding to n is equal to 1, it will be fs plus minus fm. Corresponding to 3, 3fs plus minus fm. Corresponding to 5, 5fs plus minus fm. So it would be 10 plus minus 0.5, that is 9.5, 11.5. So 9.5, 10.5, then 29.5 and 30.5, then 49.5 and 50.5. Now the filter cutoff frequency given in the question is 1 kilohertz. The cutoff frequency of the filter is 1 kilohertz. But we see none of the frequency is less than 1 kilohertz. Okay, filter cutoff is 1, none of the frequency is less than 1. So none of the frequency gets passed at the output, that is output would be 0. No frequency will be passed at the output, so output would be a 0 signal. Is it fine? Because no frequency is less than the filter cutoff frequency, so all frequencies present in the signal would be filtered out. So this time in this question you need to take care that we have been given alternating pulses, so spectrum will not be directly delta omega minus n omega s. N would be odd here because here the signal is a half wave symmetric signal, so we will have only odd harmonics, which lead to diminishing all the frequency components in the output, and output becomes 0. In the next problem, we have been given a spectrum of a signal and it is sampled at an interval of 1 millisecond, that is sampling interval is 1 millisecond or sampling frequency is 1 kilohertz. I need to sketch the spectrum of sampled signal. So after sampling, I know what happens is spectrum is repeated at fs to fs. This is 1 minus 1. So next spectrum would start from like this. Next would start from like this. So since here fs is less than 2 fm, there is aliasing. This is aliasing here. So to find the net spectrum, it would be a constant value. Okay, this would be a constant spectrum of the output. Is it fine? Because this value will be half, other will be also half. Half plus half would be 1. So one function is increasing, other is decreasing. They will cancel the effect of each other, and the net function would be a constant value. Okay, like this signal is decreasing, this one is increasing. So they cancel the effect of each other and signal becomes a constant value like this. So this would be the spectrum of sampled signal. In the next problem, we have to find Nyquist sampling interval for this signal, which is a addition of two sinc function. The spectrum of sinc would be rectangular function like this, minus 350 up to 350. Spectrum of other signal would be rectangular function from minus 250 up to 250. Now these two are being added. So maximum frequency present in the signal is 350 Hertz. Here there is no convolution or multiplication. Simply the maximum frequency would be 350 Hertz. Sampling frequency would be 2 times f max, that is 700 Hertz. So sampling time period would be 1 by fs or 1 by 700 second. Okay, this would be the sampling interval or Nyquist sampling interval or Nyquist interval. Okay, so whenever two signals are added, just the maximum of those two frequencies is taken. When they are multiplied, it is the minimum. when they are convoluted, then we take the sum. So let me summarize what happens. Convolution, these operations I am talking about in frequency domain. Convolution in frequency domain leads to addition of frequencies. Multiplication in frequency domain leads to product, or let us instead we will write minimum of two frequencies, and addition or subtraction in frequency domain leads to maximum of two frequencies. This you can remember. But remember, these operations are in frequency domain. That is, convolution is in frequency domain. That means it is multiplication in time domain. Okay. This is basically multiplication in time domain or convolution in frequency domain. Simply, this is also multiplication in frequency domain, that is convolution in time domain. So this is how we can find the maximum frequency at the output. Let us move on to the last problem. Here we have been given a signal xt, 100 cos 24 pi into 10 raised power 3t. So if I want to find the frequency, 24 pi into 10 raised power 3 by 2 pi, that is 12 kilohertz. Okay. Now this is ideally sampled with a sampling period 50 microsecond, that is TS is 50 microsecond, or Fs is 1 by 50 microsecond, that is 20 kilohertz. Now this is passed to an ideal low pass filter with cutoff frequency 15 kilohertz. So let us first find out frequencies that are present at the output. One will be 12, other would be 20 plus minus 12, then 40 plus minus 12, like this. So it will be 12, 8, 32, 52, 28, like this. But the cutoff is 15, so the components that are less than 15 is this. So output would have 12 kilohertz and 8 kilohertz frequency components. Okay. So this is how we perform the reconstruction of the signal and find out the frequency components that are present while we reconstruct the signal. So only this kind of problems can come in the GATE examination from sampling. It is a very limited set of problems. Just you need to remember how to sample a signal, and while sampling we will divide it by the sampling interval, and how to reconstruct the signal using the low pass filter. That much concept is enough. No need to go into too much depth into the sampling, because we are only concerned about ideal sampling, not the practical sampling. Okay. Ideal sampling is done using impulse functions. So these many concepts are enough for you. So practice some problems on sampling, because not many problems are asked from this topic. So even if you get acquainted with these two, three type of problems, that would be sufficient for you.